Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the cyber power of Tigray Media of this hour discussion time. My guest today is Mr. Berket Kiros, and the host will be Ephraim. Welcome, Mr. Berket Kiros.
Welcome, Ephraim. Thank you for having me, as usual, to discuss some of the issue, what's going on around home, our home, Tigray. That we are very worried about our people and about our country's future at this juncture.
Great. So today, cyber power of Tigray Media, we will discuss with Mr. Berket Kiros about the atrocity that especially Abiy Ahmed and Esayas are using the chemical weapons, and they are actually delivering multiple chemical weapons from Ukraine by the ship called Jichiga, and also there are multiple weapons has been transported to the capital city of Mekelle. And also we will discuss more about the ongoing or the coming meeting in Belgium, G7, and then also the NATO in Belgium and the G7 in London. Maybe the coming few weeks. So we will discuss what we should do and what the Tigrayan communities should do in Europe places as well as in Washington DC and New York. So our first question will be: I have heard and seen multiple social medias that Abiy Ahmed and uh, Isaias Afeworki is using a chemical weapon called white phosphorus, and we also have seen people are burned their face and their body directly from Tigray. So this weapon has been used. Do you think this weapon has been used by Isaias Afeworki and Abiy Ahmed? And what's the international law about this? Thank you.
Uh, Thank you, Ephraim. Yes, for the first question that you asked me, if it was used or not, definitely it was used in Europe by Eritrean missionaries for at the early stage of the war, and also the Ethiopian forces has used this in the middle of Tigray around Gijet and Samre. This is definitely that can be proven by uh, many outsider journalists. So there is no doubt that was desperate regimes that used this chemical to annihilate the people of Tigray. This is a well-established fact. But here, what we have to talk about is what is white phosphorus and what it does. What white phosphorus is a chemical that really catches fire when it exposed to air and burns at more than 2,700 degrees Celsius, like the napalm used in Vietnam War, and itself oxidized means it's almost impossible to put out once it touches the human skin. The recently chemicalized in legal gray zone signs, the symptoms that or the effects of the short term and less than 8 hours exposure, and white burns in the white phosphorus burns in the air and causes severe burns upon contact with the skin or eyes. White phosphorus smoke will also cause eye and respiratory tract irritation, around your throat, or initial adverse effects primarily due to gastrointestinal infection. The eye exposure, the eyes are burning, and the fumes, and also the skin and foreign body in the eyes. And the skin also have a lot of damages. So the inhalation exposure so far, eye and upper respiratory tract irritation are expected. People will have a severe delayed onset of accumulation of fluid in the lungs. Around the lungs, so much fluid will accumulate and people cannot breathe. And C ingestion ingestion exposure also. All body system effects may also occur. So this is what it does. And also it has a long-term effect on the soil, not to, this chemical stays in the soil for so long. So this is what it does. And this is a very desperate attempt, the last ditch that they can, destroy as much as they can, because they have defeated in many of the occasions that they have tried to fight, with their artillery, tanks, and human waves. They are not able to defeat the Tigray Defense Forces. So this is from a desperate regime, a desperate act, and this is forbidden against by United Nations, and it is a war crime using this chemical to that effect. So far, there is a lot of victims in the hospitals in Tigray area, and I think doctors have the responsibility to register those people, their age, time, place, whatnot, because this is an evidence that's going to go to the ICC or the International Tribune. Using such kind of agent against innocent people is absolutely unacceptable. And as I said, this is a very desperate regime. It's a desperate, unfortunate, trying to do damage as much as they could before they are put to court of law. And also, I want to add this. I don't know. This our sister Melita, the brilliant. She brought last week Professor Mukesh Kapil, a leading world renewed humanitarian who has been as a forefront in Rwanda, Darfur, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and when he talked about the stages of genocide and ethnic cleansing, there are 10 stages according to him, and this is a very renewed professor. What's happening in Tigray is 9 out of 10, the genocide side that's being in Tigray. So this is a very alarming. I know the diaspora has been vocal, and we're going to continue to address this issue as loud as we can on social media, to politicians, to State Department, to United Nations, because this is the last stage of a desperate regime to try a desperate act. So, all the genocide and ethnic.
Yeah, that's why I was going to ask you about the genocide. Actually, the steps of the genocide, I don't know, maybe some of them, there are a description about genocide. So first of all, what's the genocide description? And do you think the genocide is happening really in Tigray? And what's the description of the genocide? If
Yeah.
this genocide is happening, why are they waiting? The international community and the Security Council, the United Nations to intervene for this to stop the genocide.
It is a political, maneuvering and twisting, as we discussed before. In order, for instance, in order ICC to act, 5 of the Security Council they should agree. Whatever 5, 7 members of the Security Council they have to agree. If one of them or 2 of them did not agree, we would not be able to proceed in the court of law. So that's why you see ICC is a political tool that takes a long time to prosecute a sitting leader right now. As we see the case of Tigray, what happened is that when Ireland put the case for Security Council and also Kenya and also Mali, they have supported and pushed the agenda forward. But Russia and China, they oppose. So United States and European countries, they are finding another solution on their own, especially on the recent political maneuver headed by State Department and European allies, especially the NATO. This week they are talking about to take a decisive action in terms of what next, because this failed promise and the lies of this, I don't call him a prime minister, because he expired his mandate. To call him even prime minister is totally lip service. I wouldn't do that a lip service to him. He is an elected official that his term is expired, and he's just a neo-fascist psychopath leader that the Ethiopian people and few politicians fears to admit. So,
Right.
in a, for your caution, yes, this psychopath, morbid, wants to be a king. He's doing everything in his power with his stooges to annihilate the people of Tigray. And if you heard recently, even he has the audacity to talk about others as a banda, and really that that made me laugh. How stupid and paranoid this guy is. What is banda? This guy sold Ethiopia in many ways. One, let me tell you, he was a spy. He was spying while he was working for EPRDF, and he was not even sure. This guy has to put in, if there is a court of law, if there is a process of law in Ethiopia, according to the Ethiopian constitution, he should have been in jail, let alone to run a country like Ethiopia. I mean, it's just, you will never, Banda is a person who sells his country for his own benefit. One. Second, when he went to Russia, he tried to talk with a with a Russian premier, and also trying to give the negotiation of the great dam, the Renaissance Dam. And when the people started to roll, then he twisted himself that he is in trouble. So this guy is like many holders. Lies, deception is a part of the PP political platform, and they don't have any platform but lie, deceive, and that's what so many European in the United States has been frustrated about his lies. One time he said, "Well, the Eritrean mercenaries are getting out of Tigray," and then the second, "Well, they are not there." Simply, I mean, this is a guy.
That's why they are actually asking those people from the chat room too. What does exactly banda mean? This is just exactly. Have you ever heard any Tigrayan kings in the past, or prime minister, or any military generals has expressed like as a banda to betray Ethiopia? They never done it. But like Haile Selassie, he was betrayed Ethiopia. Menelik betrayed Ethiopia. This pathological liar, Abiy Ahmed, has already betrayed Ethiopia by Eritreans and Sudan. And what is the meaning of banda for them?
Banda is a person who are sitting at the helm of power in Ethiopia. I mean, as I said earlier, he been a spy. He openly said he's been a spy, and also under Al-Kacho, whatever his name is, he said he was spying for us. I mean, he was working for EPRDF. As I said, he should have been in jail. I mean, no shame at all. All those politicians around him. So what I see is whoever speaks about ill of someone, then he will be level banda. But the banda is himself, that he has been subvertive elements within the Ethiopia. Not only him, Brahanu Naga, the same thing. Those are the people who were. I mean, you remember when we were raising funds for the Renaissance Dam, those are the people who are accusing us. All the
Exactly.
things that has been contributed, it has
Brown
been,
actually has like Eritrean passport.
yeah, Eritrean passport, and he was working for also Egypt against the interests of Ethiopia. And those are a bunch of clowns. They are trying. They are now in the helm of power. I mean, what do you expect? People who have been subversive elements, who have been fighting at ad against the interests of Ethiopia, leveling patriotic Tigrayanis. This has been a political drama with no shame for those idiots. I call them absolutely idiots that the Ethiopian people will not be able to see and distinguish themselves what's going on in this political childish play that Ethiopia has been respected for over 30 years now. It's just, a country like Egypt are taking territories, and this is a guy who even admitted, himself that he has given land to Sudan, and he's trying to take more Sudan, more land from Tigray, and settle Amharas. I mean, there is no shame. They are, yes, Lenny, they are sell out throughout the history, and that they have been. I mean, we don't have a history selling ourselves, instead dying for Ethiopia. During Asher Johannes, we lost 12 races, 12 generals. That is one of the greatest battles in the world to lose. Such a, highly capable of races. So Tigrayans, there is no way we give our life for Ethiopia, but Ethiopia has been destroying us for so long. Look at what happened. Wayana revolt, Second World War, they have to bring British to help them out. They have never waged any war without the help of outsiders. That is the history of the Amhara Shuan dynasty, or who are advancing that kind of political ideology on behalf of commoners of Amhara, who are wrapped themselves in societal nationalistic ideology.
Right. So I think so. Do you expect some kind of intervene by NATO, and because in the coming few days they will have meeting, and then the U.S. senator actually was discussing today about the atrocity in Tigray, and the Tigray official government led by Dr. Debretsion has been sent the press release today that still Abiy Ahmed is interfering the humanitarian access and the aid from the world, and they explain that the world organizations need to know what's going on. So what's your message for the international community before they are meeting the coming few days for the G7, and then also for the NATO about the Tigray atrocities going on right now?
Well, I mean, let's clear from the start. The war has many elements. One, a war using all, conventional or unconventional military tactics. Second, use famine as a war, as an instrument of war, and rape an instrument of war. So many facets of this ugly is to annihilate the people of Tigray. Even in the recent months, they are also breaking the instruments of plowing their fields, and also the, taking their cows, or taking them alive, or eating them totally. I mean, this is unheard, even so hard to complain about it. Even for the after they loot the food or the crops or whatever, wheat or teff or grains and all those things, they put water into it, or they put ashes. I mean, it just so sad. So the message is clear. It's just to annihilate the people of Tigray, using war, starvation, rape, all the things that they can have a hand on it. So the whole world knows what is going on in Tigray. As you said earlier, Senator Leahy from Vermont, he spoke on the Senate chamber. What is happening in Tigray and the famine is a reminiscence of, the 30 years famine in the 80s, what has plagued Tigray. And they want to repeat that. They know that they are not going to win the people of Tigray, heart and mind, by any means. So the only thing that they can is restore to this ugly war and episode by destroying the people of Tigray livelihood and also psychic. That's what every one of Tagaro, especially the young one, are going in mass and joining Tigray Defense Force. And no patriotic Tigray will die in vain. So if they have to die, they will prefer to die fighting, defending their mothers, their sisters, their country, brothers, and partner. This is what inflames our national patriotic in the eyes of the world. Think about it. All those like swamp of bee that descended in Tigray. And still, Tigray is resisting in and out. That's what, all of us makes us proud to be a Tigrayan. And especially, I have so much respect for the diaspora. They have been ears and eyes of this marginalized community in many ways. That really many of us have so many sleepless nights. And we have to continue work on social media, contact our senators, contact our legislators, the war until those invading forces are whipped out of the country by hook or crook. The fight goes on in the field, in the streets of Seattle, in the streets of London, in the streets of Europe, everywhere, until our Tigray is free from those fascist invaders once and for all.
Right. Yeah. And also, I think I would like to say something about the Europe Tagaros. The Tagar who lives in European countries like in London and I think Belgium. I think we have been doing the protest, waving our Tigray flag, but I think it's better to wave those G7 and the NATO countries just as support and to attract the attention of those countries like Italy, England, and all those United Nations, and just to make sure that those are like aware what's going on, and then as a support, waving our flag is one thing, but waving their flag is also one thing. Just I just want to say, well, what do you think about this? Do you think it's going to have a lot of impact, like doing this kind of, when we do protest, we have to make sure that we have the banners and the flags that explains what's going on in Tigray.
That's a good point, Efrain. We have to balance our artists and the deeds wherever we are. We are by birth the Garo. I'm not going to use the term Ethiopia because what it does, Ethiopia and the Ethiopians, they were not. When we are hurted, they were not on our side. When we are hungry, they are not on our side. When we are burned, they are not on our side. So I will never call myself as an Ethiopian. I am a Tigray, and I will remain until my days Tigray. For the things that you mentioned, yes, we have to, first of all, live in our respected countries in diaspora. We have to appreciate for the opportunity what, as a political asylum or whatever they have given us the opportunity to learn, to express ourselves. So the balance should be act. Of course, I mean, we have to cherish and honor the place where we reside. And it is a good point to, insert as much as flags and banners and appreciative for the, opportunity to voice, our concern from our homeland. It's a good point. I mean, you know, we have to be a very keen observers. Our action, how it looks, in the face of Europeans, in the face of Americans, when they see so much flags, and yet there is no flag for the country we reside, and it attracts and it gives attention. Who are those people who have two, three flags or European flags for that matter? So everything is good, for trying to learn and assess, all the things that we have done, and how could we get more exposure for the future. Um, so yeah, I mean, still we are not out of the woods. We have to evaluate our tactics and strategies as we go. Don't forget this. We have been given only 3 days to leave, but thanks, for those brave, patriotic leaders. They are still breathing. They are still defending, and they're going to continue to defend until um, you know the remaining fascist troops are out of Tigray. There is no doubt about that. It is a matter of time. It might be long, it might be short, but also we have a war front on the social media that none of us should not discount. And one thing that really I like to remind the diaspora elements, all of us, is we should be able to work together. And I know there are many, many groups, and really we should unite by purpose. Our purpose is Tigray, to whip out those invading forces from Tigray. So whatever differences, whatever circumstances we are in, whether it's ego or other, personal weaknesses, we should not be forget the mission that brought us all together is Tigray. So it is really, I urge Ephraim, your followers, that they have to take this seriously, that we are bond and we have two responsibilities that we cannot shoulder, that we have to unite and work together for a common goal, and especially help the Tigray Defense Forces and the destitute people who are hungry. You know,
Yeah.
there are so much sleepless nights. Many of us, you know, I have never, just like any Tigray, I have never lost sight what's happening in Tigray. Right now, I cannot think of, you know, only for my family. I think for the rest of Tigray. If the rest of Tigray are
That's
not,
a key.
my family are not going to be well. Whatever I send the meager resources that I have, I always remind them to share whatever they have. We need to help each other. And people of Tigray, they have shown their resistance, especially in Mekelle. The people of Mekelle, what they are doing is just unimaginable with such kind of difficult they have, that they are willing to shelter, willing to give food access, and this should be appreciated. And many of us have something to learn from that. And also, I urge our diaspora communities that we have to reconcile ourselves and put the priorities what our country what our people, what our hero defense forces are doing in order to expedite the process of, victory.
Yeah, I think all the Tigrayans are thinking not like the direct immediate family, but we are just have to think about the entire Tigray to get rid of those invaders from Tigray, and we have to um, work together and do a lot of like social medias, protests, all that kind of stuff, especially in those few days. I don't know exactly when, but in Belgium, in London, people who live like Tigrayans who live in Belgium and in London, please aware that you guys are needs to have all kind of flags, like order them online from Amazon.com ahead of time, and then be the outside of the meeting, just to um, advocate your own people to Tigray. So I think if you don't have any other
No,
thing
I,
at the end, maybe you may have to say something for the
yeah, I
Tigray
just
Defense Force and diaspora forces before we
I just,
conclude with our.
I just want to add this. As you know, I am a community activist here, Ephraim, and I am working with at least I'm sharing now 17 organization, and I'm trying to work and to highlight the predicament of our Tagaro. So we'll have a webinar with all those different communities of color around Seattle, and we might invite some professors and some activists in this manner to understand for foreigners, especially people who look this war from a distance, and especially communities of color where we are. So we have to transfer the struggle and try to have partners, whether it is a non-profit organization or activists like we did Black Lives. And there are many organizations that we should be partnering. So we have to transfer our struggle and have more supporters, and also fundraising with other institution organization. It should not be done only by us. There are a lot of people who like to help, but they don't know how. And we should work on this, try to transform our struggle to higher level. In order to do that, we have to reach out many communities of color, and that's very important for us. We just can't do it alone, especially on social media and platforms. We should not think of our Tagaro diaspora only. We should have more friends, whether organization or individuals, and especially in campus. Now the COVID-19 is gone, especially in Seattle. At the end of June, over 85% is going to be vaccinated, as if 70% is vaccinated. Seattle is one of the 12 uh, states that did over 70% vaccination. So we'll see more activity once this COVID euphoria is gone.
Thank you. Um, thank you so much for watching us, and we are also asking you, everyone, to follow us and share this message for the right appropriate people, especially those who are senators, like elected officials on your local area. Just share them, explain to them, or share this media so that way they can read or they can hear what's going on in Tigray. So we have those hashtags as well: Stop War on Tigray, Stop Genocide War on Tigray. Those hashtags as well. So thank you for watching us. Don't forget to subscribe us on YouTube, so that way you guys have some kind of updates when you are live. You will have some notifications to watch us. Uh, Mr. Berket, thank you for being with Cyber Power of Tigray Media. today. For today, I'm gonna conclude this discussion. We will have more discussions. Like as you know, Cyber Power of Tigray Media has multiple platforms, and please follow us and watch us and get notification once you have the subscribe. Thank you.